Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a book that has pretty much been a game changer for decades, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. We're not just going to list the habits, we're going to dig into the deep principles behind them to see why real, lasting effectiveness has to start from the inside out. All right, let's just kick things off with a question that probably hits a little too close to home for a lot of us. I mean, think about your life right now. The calendar is jammed, the to-do lists are a mile long, you're constantly running from one thing to the next, but at the end of the day, does all that motion actually equal progress?
And that right there, that quote captures this feeling of hollow success perfectly. It's like you're hustling so hard to climb this ladder, but then you get to the top and realize, whoops, it's leaning against the completely wrong wall. That's the exact problem Covey's talking about. Winning the battle, but losing the war.
So that leads to the big question, right? Why do so many of our best efforts just fizzle out? We've all been there. That new diet, those ambitious goals we set, and then a few weeks later, we're right back where we started. So what gives? What's going wrong? Well, according to Covey, the problem is we're treating the symptoms, not the disease. We're essentially trying to put a Band-Aid on a deep wound. We keep reaching for these easy, surface-level fixes for problems that are actually really, really deep. And, no surprise, it just doesn't create lasting change. To really get this, Covey points to this huge shift in how we, as a culture, even think about success. For about 150 years, success was all about one thing. And then, around the time of World War I, the script totally flipped. And that's when we entered what he calls the personality ethic. This is all about the surface stuff, It's about your public image, learning little tricks and influence tactics, having a positive mental attitude to get what you want. And while some of that stuff can be useful, it often becomes more about looking good than actually being good. And this is where you can really see the two side by side. The personality ethic, it's all techniques and quick fixes. It's the tip of the iceberg. But the character ethic, that's the real deal. It's the stuff below the surface. Integrity, humility, courage. It's not what you pretend to be. It's who you actually are. And here's the bottom line. You just can't fake it for long. True effectiveness flows straight from your character. I mean, think about it. We all know people we just implicitly trust, not because of their slick techniques, but because we can feel their integrity. That's the source of real, lasting success. So, okay, if building character is the goal, where do we even start? Well, first, we have to get a handle on how we're seeing the world in the first place. Because here's the thing. To make a real, significant change, you can't just change what you do. You have to change how you see. Covey uses this classic optical illusion to make his point. I'm sure you've seen it. Some people look at it and see a young woman, and others see an old woman. The crazy part is, they're both right. It's a perfect example of how two totally sincere, clear-headed people can look at the exact same thing and see something completely different. And that lens we're all looking through, it has a name. It's a paradigm. You can think of it as your personal mental map of the world. Now, the crucial thing to remember is the map is not the actual territory. It's just our version of it. And pretty much all of our attitudes and behaviors grow out of that map. This quote just nails it, doesn't it? The big takeaway here is that if you want to change your situation, you have to start by being willing to change yourself. And that always begins with changing your paradigm, your map. When we're describing what we see out there, we're actually describing ourselves. And that moment of change, that's a paradigm shift. It's that huge aha moment when the light bulb goes on and you suddenly see everything in a new way. This internal shift is so much more powerful than just trying to change your behavior on the surface. All right, so if changing our paradigms is the secret sauce, how do we actually do it? Well, that's where the 7 habits finally come into play. They're not just a random list. They're a structured path for growth, guiding us along what Covey calls the maturity continuum. Think about it. We all start out as totally dependent on others, right? Then the big goal for a long time is independence. I can do it myself. And look, being self-reliant is a massive achievement. But Covey says that's not the final stop. The highest, most mature level is interdependence. That's when we realize, hey, we can create way more amazing things together than I could ever do on my own. This leads to another crucial idea he calls the P/PC balance, based on that old fable about the goose that laid the golden eggs. P is for production. That's the golden eggs, the results you want. And PC is for production capability.
That's the goose itself. If you get greedy and just focus on getting the eggs, you'll neglect the goose, and pretty soon you'll have neither. You gotta take care of the goose.
Okay, so this brings us to the very foundation of it all, the starting line for any real change. We're talking about habit one. And honestly, it's the one that makes everything else even possible. And that is be proactive. Here's the core idea. No matter what happens to you, that's the stimulus, there is a tiny little space before you react, that's your response. And inside that space, that's where your freedom lives. That is your power to choose your response. That, right there, is the essence of being proactive. Proactive people put their energy right in the middle of their circle of influence, all the things they can actually do something about. And you know what happens? Their energy is positive and that circle gets bigger. Reactive people, on the other hand, waste all their time and energy on their circle of concern, things they can't control, and their circle of influence just shrinks. And honestly, you can spot the difference just by listening to the words people use. Reactive language is all about blaming someone or something else. He makes me mad. I have to do this. It's literally giving your power away. But proactive language takes ownership. I control my feelings. I will choose. See the difference? It's huge. And this Einstein quote just ties it all together, doesn't it? To solve our biggest, deepest problems, we can't keep using the same old thinking that got us into them. We need a new level of thinking. And that is the whole inside-out approach. It means that real change doesn't start by trying to fix everyone and everything else out there. It starts with the person in the mirror. You have to win those private victories inside yourself first before you can ever expect to win in public.
So the whole point isn't to become a master of all 7 habits by tomorrow. It's about taking that very first proactive step. It's about making and keeping one tiny promise to yourself today to become the creator of your own life.